Welcome back to the tutorial channel, you malnutrition fucks. Today, I'm on the side of the road. Let me see if I can show you. There's a car. I figured this would be a good time to record a tutorial because, well, it's freezing cold outside. There's a bit of wind, the perfect conditions. But you can see I got myself one of these dead cats. So no, this isn't like a hairy sock. It's for you to not hear wind. Either way, I wanted to do a quick tutorial about making a yin yang, as you saw from the title. Why? Because I'm making it for a video over on the CG Matter channel, and I decided, you know, let's do it procedurally. Yes, this is something you could just download an image for and drag and drop, but where's the fun in that? If we do it procedurally, we can control every aspect of it, and really, I just thought it would be kind of an interesting challenge if you're not used to shader nodes, because it looks complicated, but it isn't really. So let me show you what I came up with. By the way, here's all the nodes, and this is actually a bit overkill, but it is kind of complicated in some way, making a yin yang. But you can see this thing rotates in. I can control the waviness of it, the positioning of the dots, and a whole bunch of stuff. It's just for a gag, but to do this, I had to make a yin yang. So let's do it. It's super simple, but it's not, but it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the cube, and we're going to delete it. We're going to replace it with a circle. That circle should be high resolution, so it doesn't look like a circle with 32 vertices, right? So let's do 100 vertices, and then in edit mode, hit F to fill it in. It will fill it in with an n-gon. So you can see there's a circle. It's pretty high resolution. Everything else, literally everything else, is just going to be material procedural shader nodes. So yin yang. Fun fact, I always thought it was called yin yang, which I think is a common thing, but no, it's yin yang, which, whatever. Take what you want from that. So first thing we need to do is we need to create this wave. And you might think to yourself, oh, I already know what he's going to say. This is a sine or a cosine wave. We got this one in the back. No, it's not. It's not a sine or a cosine. In fact, if you use a sine or cosine to kind of draw a wave here, it's going to look incorrect, because what makes a yin yang look so perfectly symmetrical and perfectly rounded and all this is the wave is kind of two hemispheres of a circle. So it's almost like we have a circle here and a circle here, like a pair of boobs, but we're getting rid of this and we're getting rid of that, and that's what makes the yin yang. So long story short, we need circles. Let's make circles, and I need to stop annotating so I can stop erasing. To make a circle, we are going to need a coordinate system, so I'm going to use texture coordinates. Let's use object coordinates because it's nice and centered. And if you remember, hopefully you remember, the fastest way that you can make a circle is you take this, we calculate the distance from some vector. It could be 0, 0, 0, whatever. This creates a radial gradient because it says, oh, texture coordinates, how far away are you from this vector? Which we can change, right? Makes a radial gradient. You take it, you filter it through a greater than or less than, and boom, you have a circle. So now it's just a question of how big should that circle be? Where should it be as well? Well, as for where it should be, we know that this is 0, 0. We know this is x equals 1, and this is x equals -1. If this thing were perfectly symmetrical, which it is, where would you expect it to be? Probably halfway across. So that's x is 0.5. So let's do that, 0.5. And as for the size, I believe this is actually already correct at 0.5, because when it's 1, it's the same size as our original circle. So there's a lot of symmetries in here that make it easy for us. So in the same way we have this circle, we also need one for the other side, and that one should be white. So let's create the other circle, another greater than. Well, I guess we want a different distance node, so it's basically the same setup. We're just shifting it over. Again, this is just a tutorial about the basics, but making something kind of cool. And now we have one circle here, and we need to combine them in an interesting way. Well, we need to somehow kind of not just combine them, but create this kind of wavy thing. So here's what I'm going to do. This will make sense in a second. First of all, I'm going to take our circle and divide it in half. So I want to separate the top and the bottom, so let's use this y gradient. Basically, this whole thing is just a bunch of greater than nodes. I'm separating it by greater than, less than 0, so that anything y coordinate above 0 is white, and otherwise it's black. And now we can kind of incorporate in these circles. And if you don't see it yet, you're about to see it. So we take this, right? We basically made a high contrast gradient here. We are going to, first of all, fill in this black circle here. How do we do that? There's a couple ways. We could just multiply, would kind of be a fast way. So we take this, we multiply it by the circle, and boom, that's incorporated. It works because we take this, and whenever this is black and we multiply it, it's like multiplying by 0, so it also turns black. On the opposite end, we want to include our other circle, which should be white. So maybe let's do a less than, so you can kind of tell. For this one, we want to kind of add it in instead of subtracting it in. So what we could do is we could take our chain, and you could either do an addition, which is almost correct, but you can see that there's some weird overlap, which you can fix with some clamping, I believe. Look at that. Maybe a cleaner way is you just say, pick the bigger of the two, the maximum. And you can see this is what makes that perfect crescent thing. If you did a sine wave, it would look more like this, kind of like sharper waves. You don't want that. So that's that. And technically, because this is all procedural, you wouldn't have much reason to do this except for the video I'm making. You can kind of control this on the fly and create different kinds of patterns. And we can also reposition this, whatever. Next order of business is we need to punch out a white circle here and a black circle here. And when you think about it, we already have the distance fields, the SDFs, if you will, for this. All we need to do is filter it through a different greater than node. So instead of kind of creating the same circle with the thing of 0.5, let's divide it by 2. I don't know if this is the yin-yang ratio, but I feel like the symbol is so perfect that it may as well just be take the previous radius divided by 2. We'll see if that looks good. So I'm going to take one of those, and I'm also going to create, so again, we're just creating 2 circular masks, one for this. And I guess in the theme of last time, we'll make it a less than. So far we have this design. What is this design again? We just took a gradient on the y-axis, we filtered it, added a circle, or subtracted, and added another circle, right? And now we need to punch in or punch out these. So I want to first add in a white circle here. So maybe, and this is where you can choose what you want. I think I'm going to do a less than, so it's kind of a simple matter of adding. Take it, addition, boom, and there you go. White circle is included. Next, we need the black circle. So again, you could do greater than, less than, whatever, but that will just change the operation you do here. Not a big deal, not a big deal. Maybe it's a big deal. I'm going to do greater than because I want to take it and multiply or subtract away the black. So let's do a multiplication by the circle. And boom, you have it. Now, looking at this, I feel like these are actually a bit big. I think I was a bit too hopeful, thinking that you divided by 2. When I did it my version, I just kind of picked a number that looked right. Again, nice thing about doing procedurally is you can pick. So maybe if the original was 0.5, and then we divided it by 2 and it seemed a bit off, what if we take it and divide it by 3? That looks not correct. Maybe it's somewhere in between. Either way, that's our basic yin-yang, and I had this thing spin in, and you're probably used to seeing it more like in a vertical sense than, you know, but that's the essence of it. If you wanted to create a kind of fancier yin-yang just using this, you could just take a mix RGB, mix 2 colors. Let's do blue and yellow probably looks good. So now we've just created a different thing. And if you're an Eevee, you enable your bloom, you pass it through an emission, you make that, you view the emission, you make that emission stronger, and now it looks like something you have on a Adidas shirt. I'm happy with that. So this is basically the technique I use to make the yin yang for the CG Matter video that is either uploaded or is going to be uploaded. I have a deadline tomorrow and I'm so fucked. I need to get that done. Either way, hopefully you didn't hear any wind noise. I'm going to go back and review the audio. Check out all these cars. They are like, what the fuck is this man doing? They think I'm homeless, but really I'm the smartest Blender man alive, just going rogue. Either way, as you've been seeing, this video and all videos are sponsored by the patrons. There's something like 730, 40 of you. If so many people are doing it, why aren't you, the viewer, also a patron? Let me convince you. If you click the link in the description, you can join my Patreon. You get 3 things. 1, early access to tutorials. You could have seen this video early. Other people did, but you weren't good enough. But you can become good enough. Just click the link in the description. 2, you can get access to blend files. So this one, or maybe the original yin yang I made, I'm going to upload. And when you join Patreon, you get access to hundreds of blend files because I've been at this for 3 years and I upload a couple times a week, to be honest. It's ridiculous. get access to a bunch of bund files and project files. And lastly, exclusive tutorials. Those are not even on YouTube, so you probably didn't even know those exist. I make extra tutorials on the side. Those tend to be more complicated, more theoretical, stuff like this. I do that at least once a month. Before I've done whole tutorial series in a month, it kind of changes. If you want access to exclusive tutorials, check out the Patreon. This month I did a points in volume node instead of points on the surface inside of it, right? And it's randomly distributed and all this. Inspired by Aaron Dale. Hopefully I didn't use the same technique. I didn't look at his node group. But that's it. Hopefully you learned something about a yin yang. We've gone over 10 minutes. That's an extra ad. Gotta think smart when you're making these.